I never thought I'd be the kind of guy to get blindsided like this, honestly. My wife, Lisa, and I had been together for almost 8 years. We met in college, got married right after, and for the most part, I thought we had a solid, if not perfectly smooth, marriage. Sure, we had our fights, mostly about money, her laziness, or her constant complaining about how I wasn't romantic enough. But underneath all that, I believed we had trust, or at least I did. Things started feeling off about 3 months ago. She became distant, always distracted, phone glued to her hand whenever she was home. She'd brush off my questions, make up excuses about work or her friends. I figured maybe she was stressed from her job or just going through a phase. She's the kind of girl who's bitchy, always throwing attitude and lying through her teeth when it suited her. I knew that about her. But I also thought I knew her limits, what she'd never do. And I definitely didn't think she'd cheat on me, not like this. Then I noticed her behavior changing in the bedroom. She started avoiding intimacy, saying she was too tired or stressed. I took it as her usual bitchy attitude, but deep down I felt something was wrong. My gut told me to watch her, so I started paying more attention. I figured maybe she was just going through a rough patch and I was trying to be patient. But I was wrong. Dead wrong. One night, I decided to check our security footage, which I had installed a while back, not because I suspected her, but because I wanted to catch any burglars or weird noises. It was a habit I'd picked up after a few break-ins in the neighborhood. I never thought I'd find something that would blow my world apart. I was just sitting there, drinking a beer, scrolling through the footage when I saw it. Lisa sneaking into the basement workshop where I had my body modification artist working. The footage showed her going down there late at night, around 10:30 p.m., which was odd because she usually avoided that area. I saw her opening the door, whispering to someone. I froze the video and zoomed in. That's when I saw him, my body modification artist, Mike. I recognized him immediately. He's the guy who's been installing my subdermal implants, the pleasure enhancement features I'd been wanting for months. But this wasn't just a normal visit. They weren't working on my implants. They were testing something else. I watched in disbelief as they tested what looked like a new upgrade, some kind of device that lit up and sent pulses through her body. She was moaning softly, like she was getting off on it. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. That was her with him, in my house, doing God knows what. I felt a punch to my stomach like I'd been hit in the chest. My mind raced. I replayed the footage over and over, trying to process it. How could she do this? With my body being altered, with my own hands having paid for those upgrades, she's out there cheating on me with the guy doing the modifications I thought I was doing for myself. It's like my body, my mind, my trust, everything I built this marriage on was being betrayed right in front of my eyes. And the worst part, I don't think this was a one-time thing. The way she was moaning, the way she was so into it, she was enjoying herself. I was furious. I didn't sleep that night. The feeling of betrayal was suffocating. I kept asking myself, how did I miss all the signs? Was she ever really faithful? Was any of this real, or was I just a fool all along? My stomach churned with a mix of rage, hurt, and utter disbelief. I had to confront her, but I wasn't ready. Not yet. I needed to plan, to figure out what I was going to say. What made it worse was that Lisa's the kind of girl who always lies, always spins some story to cover her ass. I knew she'd come up with some bullshit, probably deny everything. But I had the evidence. The proof was right there, her sneaking out, her secret nights in the basement, her moans caught on security. I never thought I'd catch her in something like this, but there it was. Everything I thought I knew about her was crumbling. I sat there staring at the monitor, feeling like I'd been hit by a freight train. My hands trembled as I held my phone, trying to decide whether to call her or just wait. I didn't want to be the fool who jumps to conclusions, but deep inside I knew. My wife, my partner, the girl I trusted, she was cheating on me. And not just with anyone, but with the guy who was supposed to make me feel more alive, more complete. How did it come to this? I stayed there in the dark room, my mind racing a million miles an hour. I kept replaying the footage, trying to make sense of how everything had fallen apart so fast. I mean, how could she lie so easily? Lisa's always been good at spinning tales. She could talk her way out of any situation, make you doubt your own judgment. That's her way, bitchy, manipulative, always a step ahead with her bullshit. But this was different. This was raw, real, and in my face. I finally decided I couldn't keep pretending I didn't see anything. I grabbed my phone and called her. No answer. I texted her, "We need to talk, now." No reply. My stomach twisted even more. She was probably already in her usual defensive mode, ready to dodge responsibility, like she always did, but I knew it was better to confront her face to face. I needed her to see the look on my face, the hurt, the anger. A few minutes later, she finally responded with a curt message. "What's wrong? I'm busy. Can't talk now." That just pushed me over the edge. I could feel my blood boiling. How dare she brush me off? After everything, she's still playing games. I decided to go home early that day. I didn't want to wait any longer, knowing she'd be there, probably lying through her teeth. When I got home, I found her in the living room scrolling through her phone, pretending like nothing was wrong. I stood in front of her, feeling like I was about to explode. "Lisa," I said, voice low but trembling with rage, "I saw everything. The footage, you sneaking down to the basement, the testing of the pleasure device. How long has this been going on?" She looked up, her eyes narrowing. "Are you serious? You're crazy. You've been spying on me. You need help," she shot back, her tone bitchy and dismissive. "You're overreacting. It's just a stupid experiment with my body, nothing more." Her words felt like a slap. I clenched my fists, trying to hold my composure. "Stop lying," I said. "I saw you moaning. Hell, I saw you with Mike in my house. You're cheating on me. How long has this been going on? Are you even the same girl I married?" Her face twisted with anger, but she kept up her act. "Oh, please, you're so paranoid. I've been stressed, okay? The implants, the upgrades, it's messing with my head. Maybe I needed some excitement. And Mike, he's just helping me figure out the new tech. You're overthinking everything." That was the moment I knew she was lying. Her tone, her words, everything was a cover-up. I could see it in her eyes, guilt, deflection, denial. I wasn't about to let her get away with it. I told her, "You don't get to lie anymore. I saw what you're doing with him in my house. You think I don't know what that pleasure device is for? It's not just for you. It's for him too, isn't it?" Her eyes flickered for a second. She hesitated as if she was about to say something, but then she snapped back with a bitchy attitude. "Whatever, Kyle. You're making a damn big deal out of nothing. I'm tired of your accusations. Maybe I need someone who actually cares about me instead of spying on me all the time." That was when I felt the full weight of her words hit me. She was trying to turn it around, making me the bad guy for catching her. God, she's good at this. But I wasn't going to let her manipulate me anymore. I told her I needed some time to think, that I wasn't going to stay quiet anymore. I couldn't. Not after what I saw. As I walked out of the house that night, I felt a strange mix of relief and heartbreak. Part of me wanted to break everything, burn her lies and her bullshit. But another part just felt exhausted, like I'd lost something I didn't even know I had. I kept asking myself how I could have missed all the signs. How I could have trusted someone so manipulative, so willing to betray everything we had. The worst part, I knew this was only the beginning. It wasn't just about her cheating. It was about what she'd done to me, to our marriage, to my sense of self. I had to figure out what to do next. I knew I couldn't ignore it, not anymore. I had to decide whether to fight for this or finally walk away. But deep down, I knew the truth. I was hurt, betrayed, and all I could think about now was revenge. How to make her pay for what she'd done. The days that followed were a blur of anger, confusion, and a kind of numbness I'd never experienced before. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her moaning in that basement, her face flushed with pleasure that wasn't meant for me. I kept thinking about how she lied right to my face, how she used my trust and my money on her stupid upgrades, all for some thrill with Mike. It felt like my whole world had been flipped upside down, and I was just standing there, watching it all crumble. I started digging deeper, trying to piece together what I could do. I knew she was hiding something from me. I could feel it. She was a bitch about everything, always covering her tracks, but I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I decided I needed proof, real proof, that she'd been unfaithful beyond what I saw on that footage. I needed to know how long this had been going on, what they'd done together, how much she'd lied. One night, I broke into her email account. Yeah, I know it's shady, but I was desperate. I wanted to see if there were any messages, anything that could tell me how long she'd been sneaking around behind my back. Turns out I didn't have to look very hard. There were messages, texts, pictures, all from Mike, talking about their sessions, how she loved the new sensations, how she couldn't wait for the next upgrade. She was planning it all, just like I suspected. What hit me hardest was a conversation they had about testing her limits, about how far they could push the new pleasure tech. She called him doctor, like he was some kind of expert. I realized she was fully invested in this, not just some accidental affair. It was an obsession. My wife, the girl I married, was secretly spending her nights with him, testing her body, testing her mind for her own sick pleasure. And she'd been lying about everything. I was so pissed off, I almost threw up. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut all over again. How could she do this? How could she betray me like this, after all the years we had? All the plans, the dreams, the trust. I couldn't believe I was supposed to share my life with someone who'd cheat and lie without a second thought. It was like I was dealing with a stranger. But see, that's when I realized I had to do something more. I couldn't just confront her and hope for the best. I'd already seen her lie, her manipulate, her play the victim. No, I had to turn this into something she couldn't deny or spin out of. I needed to make her see that I wasn't going to be the fool anymore. It was then I started planning my revenge. Not some petty, childish thing. I wanted her to feel exactly how I felt. Hurt, exposed, humiliated. I thought about hacking into her social media, exposing her to her friends, but that felt too easy. I wanted her to understand what it meant to betray someone who loved her, who trusted her. I decided I'd use her own lies against her, make her realize she couldn't spin her way out of this. First, I rigged her phone and email to send her a message, pretending to be someone she trusted. I crafted a story that I knew would shake her, something that would make her realize I had the evidence. I wanted her to feel the panic, the fear of being caught completely off guard. I knew I was crossing a line, but she crossed it first. She threw my trust away, so I was ready to burn everything down to make her face her actions. Then, I bought a cheap hidden camera and placed it in the basement. I wanted to catch her again, this time on her own terms. I wanted her to see herself, to see how she'd been lying, cheating, and playing with my feelings. If she thought I was just some naive husband who'd never discover the truth, I was going to make sure she knew I was far from naive. The moment I set everything in motion, I felt a strange mix of satisfaction and dread. I knew I was setting myself up for a fight, a brutal, emotional fight, but I didn't care anymore. I was done being the guy who got played. I was done trusting her or pretending everything was okay. I wanted her to feel what I'd felt, to realize she couldn't keep lying forever. That night, I sat in my man cave, watching the live feed from the basement camera. Sure enough, by midnight, she showed up again. This time her face was flushed, her body tense with anticipation. She was there to meet Mike, I was sure of it. She didn't even bother to hide it. And I sat there, camera rolling, feeling every ounce of that revenge heating up inside me. I knew this was just the beginning. I had her now, and I was going to make sure she paid for what she'd done. I can't even begin to describe how I felt watching her on that camera, knowing I had her caught red-handed. Her face was flushed, her eyes darting around nervously, and her movements were impatient, like she was hiding something she didn't want anyone to see. I saw her pull out that damn pleasure device again, the one she'd been testing with Mike. She was moaning softly, completely absorbed in the moment, and I could tell she wasn't doing this for her own pleasure anymore. No, this was all about her ego, her power trip, her need to feel alive while she was destroying everything we had. I sat there, heart pounding, trying to keep my composure. I wanted to yell, to confront her right then and there, but I knew I had to stay calm. I needed her to see herself, to understand that I was watching. This wasn't some random thing. This was her cheating, her lying, her sneaking around. I had all the proof I needed now, and I wasn't going to let her slip away this time. As she played with that device, her moans grew louder, more desperate. I saw her touch herself, her face twisted with pleasure, completely unaware that I was observing her every move. That's when I realized I could turn this moment into my revenge. I'd make her feel exposed, vulnerable, just like I felt. I decided I'd send her a message, something subtle yet devastating. I wanted her to know I was watching her, not just in the basement, but in her mind, her body, her soul. I sent her a text from an anonymous number saying, "You're so fucked up, Lisa. I saw you with Mike. I know everything. Enjoy your little secret while you still can." I watched her reaction on the camera. For a second she froze, her face flickering with panic. Then she quickly tried to cover herself, but it was too late. She knew I'd seen enough. Her reaction was priceless. She grabbed her phone, started typing frantic messages, trying to deny everything, but I knew better. She couldn't lie her way out of this one, not anymore. I felt a sick satisfaction knowing I'd broken her little illusion of control. She was exposed, and I was going to make her pay for it. I kept watching as she finished her session, then quickly tidied herself up, trying to act innocent. She looked around nervously, probably wondering if I was still watching, if I'd say something. That's when I decided I'd have to escalate. I couldn't just sit back and wait for her to come home, expecting her to explain or apologize. No, I needed her to understand that the game was over. I waited a few minutes until she left the basement, then I went down myself, taking a mental note of everything. Her phone was still on the table and I grabbed it. I sifted through her messages again, looking for any details I might have missed. I wanted to get into her head, to understand how deep her lies went. But more than that, I knew I had to confront her soon. That night I sat alone in the dark, feeling like I'd entered a whole new level of hell. She'd been lying, cheating, testing her limits. Everything I thought I knew about her was a lie. And I was left with this burning question: what do I do now? Do I make her face the consequences? Do I cut her out of my life for good? Or do I try to salvage what's left of this broken marriage? Honestly, part of me just wanted to walk away right then. To delete her from my life and pretend I'd never known this version of Lisa. But I also knew that wasn't easy. There was a part of me that wanted to make her suffer, to see her squirm, to make her realize she'd lost everything. The betrayal was so deep, not just infidelity, but the way she lied, manipulated, and played me like a fool. So I started planning my next move. I bought a second hidden camera, one I could place somewhere else in the house, to get more footage. I needed to catch her in the act again, maybe even get her to admit everything. If she thought I was just some naive husband, I was going to make damn sure she knew better. I wanted her to feel how much she'd hurt me, how much she'd betrayed our vows, and I was prepared to do whatever it took to make her see that I wasn't going to be the punching bag anymore. It's a strange thing, realizing how quickly everything can unravel. One moment, I was a guy happily married, trusting his wife. The next, I was staring at a betrayal that cut deeper than I ever expected. But as much pain as I felt, I also knew that I was finally starting to see her for who she really was. And that's a kind of clarity I never wanted to have. But now that I do, it's going to change everything. Over the next couple of days, I stayed in a state of heightened alertness. Every time Lisa left the house, I was ready with my hidden cameras, my phone, and a plan. I knew she was planning her next move, probably trying to cover her tracks better now that she knew I was onto her. But I wasn't going to let her slip away again. I'd already seen the evidence and I was determined to make her face it all. The more I watched her, the more I realized how deep her lies went. She'd been sneaking around for months, maybe longer. Each new message from Mike, each secret rendezvous added to the growing mountain of betrayal. It wasn't just sex. It was about control, about her feeling alive while I was left in the dark. It made me feel sick, angry, and ultimately humiliated that I'd been so blind. But I also felt a strange sense of clarity. If I was going to get through this, I needed to accept what was happening and plan my next steps carefully. One evening, I decided to confront her directly. I wanted her to understand that I wasn't naive anymore, that I knew everything. I told her I had been watching, that I had the proof, and that she couldn't deny it. Her reaction was classic. She started with her usual bitchy attitude, insisting I was paranoid and crazy. She threw out her usual excuses: stress, boredom, her need for excitement. But I wasn't falling for it anymore. I told her I knew about the affair, about her testing the pleasure tech with Mike, and that I'd seen her moaning and touching herself in the basement. Her face twisted with anger. "You're psycho," she spat. "You're just jealous because I'm better than you. Maybe you can't satisfy me anymore, Kyle. That's why I went to someone who actually cares about me, who understands my needs." She looked at me with that bitchy smirk, like she was trying to demean me, make me feel small. But I wasn't going to let her have the last word. I told her that I was tired of her lies, tired of her pretending everything was fine when clearly it was. I warned her that I had enough proof now to do something about it. I told her I was done playing her game, that I was going to take control of this situation. That night, I started drafting a detailed message to her, an account of everything I'd uncovered, everything I'd seen, and everything I knew about her affair with Mike. I wanted her to understand just how much she'd screwed up, how badly she'd hurt me. I was prepared to give her an ultimatum: end it or I walk away for good. But even as I planned all this, I felt the swelling of a darker desire: revenge. Not just to punish her, but to make her feel the pain she'd inflicted on me. I thought about turning her secrets into a public spectacle, exposing her to her friends, her family, everyone she knew. I wanted her to see what it felt like to be humiliated, to lose everything she cared about because she couldn't keep her legs closed. I knew some of her friends would be disgusted, and that thought made me feel a little better. I also started considering more direct action. I knew her schedule, her routines, and I had a plan to catch her again in the act. This time I'd be ready for her. I'd set up a more sophisticated camera system, one that could record longer clips and send me alerts whenever she moved around the house. I wanted irrefutable proof, the kind that couldn't be denied or spun away. I was done being the victim. From this point on, I wanted her to see just how much she had destroyed, and I was going to make sure she paid the price. The emotional toll was heavy. I kept vacillating between rage, heartbreak, and a sick sort of satisfaction. Part of me still loved her, I guess some part of me always would, but that love was broken, shattered by her betrayal. Every thought of her with Mike, of her lying to my face, made me feel like I was suffocating. I wondered how I could ever look at her the same way again. How could I trust her? Could I? Or was everything just a facade, a lie she told to keep her secret hidden? The biggest lesson I learned these days was that betrayal cuts deeper than I ever imagined. It's not just about sex or cheating. It's about the fundamental trust that holds a marriage together. Once that trust is broken, everything else crumbles. I still haven't decided what I'll do next, but I know one thing: I won't be a fool anymore. I've seen her true face now, and I'm ready to do whatever it takes to make her understand she can't keep lying to me. That's where I stand right now, in the wreckage of what used to be my life. The night I finally decided to confront her for real, I had everything set. The new camera was hidden in the basement, recording continuously, and I had the message prepared, a detailed account of everything I'd uncovered, from her secret nights with Mike to her testing the pleasure tech she'd been bragging about. I wanted her to see it all, to understand that I wasn't some naive fool anymore. I wanted her to feel the weight of her lies, the depth of her betrayal. She came home late that night, probably thinking she'd get away with it again. I was waiting in the dark, my heart pounding. As soon as she stepped into the house, I activated the feed. Her eyes darted around nervously, her usual bitchy attitude replaced by a flicker of guilt I'd never seen before. She went straight to the basement, probably to check her secret stash of tech or to prepare for another round with Mike, but I was ready. I called out to her, voice steady but cold as ice. "Lisa, I know everything, all of it. The affair, the testing, the lies. I've seen enough." Her face twisted in shock and anger as she tried to spin her usual bullshit, but I cut her off. I played the video feed on my phone, the footage of her moaning, touching herself, and testing that device with Mike. Her expression froze, her eyes wide with panic. "You lied to me," I said, voice low and deliberate. "All these years I trusted you, and you're out there with him playing your sick little game, testing your pleasure tech while I was clueless. How long has this gone on? How long have you been cheating?" She opened her mouth to lie, but I held up the phone. "Don't bother, I've got the proof, all of it. And I'm not going to pretend I don't feel like shit right now, because I do, but at least I know the truth." Her bitchy attitude quickly turned defensive. "You're psycho. You've been spying on me, stalking me. You don't understand what I've been going through. I was bored, stressed, and your stupid upgrades made me feel alive again. Mike's the only one who gets me, who understands what I need. It's not about you, it's about me trying to find happiness." I shook my head, disgusted. "Happiness? You call cheating on your husband happiness?" I felt the tears welling up, but I pushed them down. I was furious, yes, but I didn't want her to see me break. Not yet. Instead, I told her I was done. Done pretending she was anything other than a liar and a cheat. I told her she could stay or leave, I didn't care anymore. I was done being her punching bag. I left her standing there, stunned, as I walked out to the garage. I knew I needed to get away, to clear my head before making any final decisions. But deep down, I knew I'd made up my mind. I'd had enough of her lies, her manipulations. I'd been betrayed so deeply that I couldn't see a way back. I'd decided to end it, to divorce her, to cut her out of my life and start fresh. That was the moment I realized how much betrayal can change a person. Losing trust so completely leaves scars that don't heal easily. I learned that the person you marry isn't always who they seem, and sometimes love isn't enough to save a broken relationship. But what I also learned is that revenge isn't about cruelty, it's about reclaiming your dignity when everything been shattered. Looking back, I see how naive I was to believe in a perfect marriage. I see how blindly I trusted her, even with all the early signs I ignored. But I also see the importance of standing up for yourself, of recognizing when you've been played. Lisa's betrayal was a wake-up call, a brutal lesson that sometimes the worst hurts come from those closest to you. What I want to say now is simple: trust your instincts, keep your boundaries, and don't let anyone, no matter how bitchy or manipulative, strip away your sense of self. I've lost a lot, but I've gained a clarity I never had before, and I know I will rebuild. Because at the end of the day, the only person who truly has your back is yourself, and I refuse to let her or anyone else take that away from me again.